There is something we have for so long normalized in Nigeria, and it has become like a culture. It has eaten deep to virtually every sector of the country, and it is actually one of the causes of the underdevelopment that is continuous in Nigeria. It is putting, like we say, square pegs in round holes, or putting round pegs in square holes. It doesn't speak about professionalism, especially when we are a of diverse ethnicities. So we mostly do not look at merit. We basically look at where a person comes from. That's the reason for the establishment of the Federal Character Commission. But there is nothing wrong with balancing ethnicities. But when it comes to balancing ethnicities, we are not being honest about it. So we sometimes, or most of the time, just pick people from their ethnicities, regardless of if they really qualify to take over those positions. We just want the ethnicities to play. But while we are balancing ethnicities, we should also consider merit. There are very qualified people all over Nigeria. We just have to look for them and not to capitalize on just ethnicity or federal character. Federal character is good, but while applying the principle of federal character, we shouldn't compromise merit. It is the compromising of merit that has contributed in the continuous backwardness of Nigeria. It is most especially played in our leadership environment. For example, as big as Nigeria is, as much as we tout ourselves as giants of Africa, we've never really had presidents who are intellectually sound. And when you are led by people who are merely school set owners, you do not expect the country to go as far as becoming the country of our dream. In the Fourth Republic, we've had Goodluck Jonathan, who has a PhD in, I think, in zoology. Apart from that, there was just Yaradua. Yaradua was an academic too, but Yaradua didn't stay for as much as he should have stayed. Obasanjo, we know his academic background. Buhari, his academic background. Now we have Tinubu. There is a book by Plato. The title of the book is The Republic. That book emphasizes on how society becomes just, how society becomes a beautiful place to be when everybody take up roles according to their areas of specialization, more often according to their areas of gift. Sometimes you are born with talent, so your talent should speak for you in the places where you offer service to society. That's one thing that is really lacking in the Nigerian society. And I felt that if we started to look towards that direction, we are going to start having a society that we can be proud of. As we are getting ready to go into the next election in 2027, just around the corner. I would like to look at the major contestants, even though none of them has taken the ticket because they've not conducted primaries. But these are people that are presidential hopefuls. They all participated in the last presidential election where the INEC declared Tinubu the winner, and the Court of Justice affirmed the declaration. For me, it's a declaration because I do not think the result reflected the will of the people, you know. But that's not even the reason I want to talk about what I have to talk about. So I am going to look at what Plato said in his book and try to match it up with the realities that surround the major contestants for the 2027 presidential election. In his book, Plato divided society into three. There are the people who are gifted with making sure the economy is doing very wonderful. You know, economic advancement has a class of people that should man that sector, and because they are gifted in that area, or they are professionals in that area, they are going to be very productive and society is going to advance economically. Those are the people Plato said their might is in their stomach. And then the second one is those ones whose might is in their arms or in their chest. Those are the ones that are supposed to be in the security sector, providing security, protecting lives and properties. Like we have the military, the paramilitary, Nigerian Army, Navy, Air Force, Police, Civil Defense, and all whatnot. Those are people who are gifted or who have been trained in security. And then the final one is leadership. Leadership, those people are people whose might is in their head, intellect. And that's why I earlier said if you do not have leaders that are intellectually grounded, it will affect your country. Now, he called the ones whose might is in their head the philosopher kings. According to Plato, when the philosopher king is the leader, he will lead in line with the conditions that makes leadership wonderful. So let's have this in mind and look at the major contestants for the 2027 presidential election. Let's start with Abubakar Atiku. Abubakar Atiku said that he got a diploma in law in Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. With a diploma in law, I heard of or I read of a case of a young man who who had carnal knowledge of a goat, bestiality, the man and the goat were doing best friends relationship. And you know how it is with the law, with modern society. As much as you were caught in the act, you still have a privilege to fair hearing, so you'll be charged to court and you get someone that will defend you in court. So people like Atiku, who got diploma in law, are best suited in the legal systems. Atiku is supposed to be the one to represent either the goat or the person who was caught in the act on a goat. You see, for example, Atiku is supposed to be the lawyer putting it to the lawyer of the goat, or putting it to the lawyer of the one who was caught on the goat, because he studied law. He's supposed to be defending someone who was caught on a goat, or be defending the goat, because it is man's inhumanity to goat. But Atiku is now leaving the area that he specializes to encroach into leadership. That's negating the principles of the republic. After Atiku, we will look at the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He said, Atiku was the one that said that he studied law and got a diploma in law. Tinubu also said that he studied business administration. Apart from saying so, he went ahead to say that he studied what he studied in Chicago, the United States of America. To buttress his claims, his only surviving classmate, Alex, visited Nigeria from Belarus to buttress his claim that he actually studied in Chicago. It was a very wonderful celebration to host Tinubu's only surviving classmate from Belarus, Chicago University or Chicago State University. I do not know which one, but Chicago. Now, the one who studied business administration is the one whose might is in their stomach. So, Tinubu is supposed to be doing, these people that goes to bush market, buy ogbono, buy ogbono, buy egusi, buy crayfish, all these commodities that are in the villages that are not in the city. So he goes from the city to the villages because he's a city boy. He knows all the areas in the city where these commodities are needed. So, like a city boy, he goes to the villages, buy those things, buy yams, buy cocoyam, buy plantain, because you studied business administration. So that's supposed to be the business you do to contribute to the growth of the economy. Buy all of those things, put them in. There is this truck we call 911 or Gongoro, put them Ekenediri Chuku services and transport them to Lagos, city, and sell. You move from place to place, or you have a converging point where people come to meet you and take commodities, and you make profit, and you're contributing to the growth of the economy. And then, economics of scale, your business grows. You make returns, you go to the bush market, you buy your mono, you come to Lagos, you sell, you make returns. And when you've done that for a period of time, you have a lot of money to now start considering exportation. So you have the ones you would sell in Lagos. You have the ones you sell in Abuja, and then you have the ones you would export to Chicago. Like the city boy that you are, you go from the city to the villages, buy ogbono, take to the city, sell some in the city, and export some to Chicago because you said you lived and schooled in Chicago, so you are best to know the places where the whites would need ogbono, or the Yankees will need ogbono. So it will be a means of the country earning foreign exchange, and our naira would grow and compete with the dollars. That's for Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So he is supposed to stay within the confines of his professionalism. That's the whole essence of Plato's Republic. Moving on, we go to Omoyele Sowore. Omoyele Sowore studied geography and regional planning in the University of Lagos. So, as a geographer, he is supposed to bother himself with maps. He's supposed to bother himself with digital trackings. Someone like Sowore is supposed to work with the EFCC or even become the EFCC chairman. So you can track Yahoo boys, you can track those people that are mismanaging our finances from the political sector. You can track them. For example, you build digital platforms where you can know where a kidnapper is at a given time, or where a Boko Haram um, person is located at a given time. All these talk about hideouts and the rest. Showore would have helped us in that aspect. Or on the other hand, he could join the weather forecasters, tell us when tsunami might hit Nigeria, or when Nigeria might experience the next eclipse of the moon, or tell us why the rain is falling earlier than normal, or you just work with a radio or television channel and you tell us tomorrow is going to be very rainy, and then do not go out. All of us will now stay back home. Or tomorrow is going to be sunny, it's going to be a wonderful, beautiful weather. So Nigerians will plan ahead. You can also work with new map, work with mm, United Nations that see to you know rescuing places that are prone to earthquake or erosion. That's what someone who studied geography bothers themselves about. Like in Lekki, for example, you would work with the government to say, do not build houses in these areas because in 10 or 15 years, flood is going to take over this place. You study the Atlantic Ocean and how it can respond or react to Nigeria in the long run. That's what a geographer is supposed to bother themselves about, rather than looking for, you know, becoming the president. The position of the president is a very special position that it is the politics that determines every other factors in society, because the politics is what takes leadership. And that's why Plato calls someone who occupies that position, or who should occupy that position, a philosopher king. That person would have been someone who is philosophical, a philosopher, someone who studies philosophy. I don't know if you get my point. So If Nigeria wants to be wonderful, Nigeria wants to be like those very beautiful countries that you wish Nigeria to be. For example, France, the president of France studied philosophy. Kwame Nkrumah, we all know Kwame Nkrumah is one of the best things that ever happened to to Africa. He studied philosophy. Think either Thomas Sankara or Julius Nyerere. It's Thomas Sankara. He studied philosophy. You could see there are a whole lot of leaders who studied philosophy, and it reflected in their administration, it's reflecting in their countries. So in Nigeria, we have someone who studied philosophy who has been asking for the opportunity to use his expertise, his professionalism, and his talent to make a new Nigeria possible. Why we do not look at it from this angle, I do not know. I do not support any political, um, any candidate for politics. I am just putting facts and things that you should consider. Peter Obi studied philosophy from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and he's asking to be president of Nigeria. Remember what Plato said about the philosopher king, the republic, and how society would be just. So, like I said before, Atiku said he got a diploma in law. Tinubu said he studied business administration. He also said he did that in Chicago. Showore studied geography and regional planning. Then Peter Obi studied philosophy. So I don't know if someone who studied philosophy is supposed to be doing POS business, POS, Peter Obi services, you know, pay 100 naira to take 10,000 naira. I don't know if that's what someone who studied philosophy is supposed to be doing, or he's supposed to be, selling recharge card or selling water or working at NEPA office. We don't have power. So someone who studied philosophy, a philosopher king, I don't know if he's supposed to be working with NEPA. It's left for you to decide going into the election, going into the coming election. But one thing is clear. Plato has told us how society become the dream society we all wish for.